Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Chapter 11. Attacking the Peace Circle, 10 people. You are joking. The subordinate captain raised his fist with a calm face. Boom. This punch made the ground tremble faintly. Ha 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 ha. Poor alien creature, this is called power. Carisha laughed wildly, not thinking that the tiny alien creature could withstand the punch of his pilot armor. Just as Shalifi grinned, a terrible sense of crisis suddenly hit its heart. Then the armored intellectual brain sounded a crazy alarm. Great Ape. Saiyan's exclusive talent, Saiyan of Great Ape, can get normal X10 combat power, but ordinary Saiyan needs to rely on the moon at night to achieve Great Ape. The night advantage that they lizard people think. In fact, it is what Saiyan subordinately needs. Roar. A piercing death came out of his mouth, and his height also doubled. Comparable to Sarife in armor. Comprehensive combat power increased by 100x10. A total of 1000 points. Boom. The subordinate captain of Great Ape threw his fist suddenly, and smashed it on Sharife's armor. Sharife felt his chest. It seemed that he was hit by a battleship, and the pain caused him to scream. Afterwards, I felt the world spinning for a while, my eyes went dark, and I never woke up again. The rest of the bandits looked into the distance, the armor that exploded because of the short circuit of the energy tube, and the fighting spirit in their hearts was instantly extinguished. Run, run. These alien creatures are all monsters, monsters. Run. No, don't kill me. How could a creature be able to blow up its armor by relying on its flesh? Devil, run. Ah, help. But the subordinate captain who had lost his mind had no intention of letting the remaining robbers go. So the battle turned into a one-sided massacre. Outside the circle of peace, the Saiyan leader gazed at the towering fortifications in the distance. Have all the teams arrived at the designated location? Saiyan on the side bowed slightly. Report to my lord. I have contacted the lost third team. Although there was a little accident in the middle, we have now reached the 7th fortress, and the plan can begin. Amosi nodded upon hearing the subordinate's answer. Let's begin then. Zaka Star, Circle of Peace. One ring. Carl Sturt. Lord's house. A soldier looked at the Lord Chris on the high platform with a panicked expression, and reported something. Isn't it just that a few robbers died, as for being so in a hurry? Chris heard the words of the lizard soldier, and a trace of anger flashed in his huge eyeballs. After all, he was still in the research institute just now, looking at the latest research results of Zakaxing. Magic outfit. One surpasses the traditional energy transmission method and adopts photonic circuits to produce the strongest armor. Even the latest 9th-generation mecha is in front of the magic suit. Also vulnerable, he was about to witness a historic moment. But the highest battle report came from the 7th fortress. So he ignored the experiment in front of him, and hurried back to the Lord's mansion. After all, the highest battle report. It represents a terrible crisis that can threaten the entire planet. My lord, even though Shalifi's gang of bandits are bandits, they have stood upright in Zaka for a long time. Even if they haven't been wiped out, they can't be destroyed in such a short period of time, and... Hearing the soldier's words, Chris' scaly face also obviously changed a bit. A new species. Yes, according to what the escaped gangsters said, those brand new species exploded the armored Shalifi only by relying on their bodies, and some time ago, the near-Earth satellite also captured strange flying objects. Alien creatures, invasive species. At this time, Chris finally calmed down his anger. Alien invasion is the biggest crisis facing Zaka. Damn it, it's almost there. If the research on magic equipment is successful, these alien creatures will not be opponents in the peace circle at all. Chris thought secretly in his heart. At this moment, Chris' communicator rang. Drop 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 drop. My lord, the 4 super fortresses in the peace circle were all attacked at the same time. Commander-in-Chief of the peace circle, Rengar said with a solemn face. Hearing his words, Chris' expression froze. Can't wait so soon. How many people are there on the other side? Are there any large siege weapons, and can they cause effective damage to the walls of the peace circle? And what is the root of the technology they have mastered? Chris asked Rengal quickly. After all alien invasions, the number of people is more than tens of thousands, and the technology they have is also strange. Chris here understands attacks like magic as energy technology similar to lasers. As long as you know the technology they use, you can use the corresponding method. The attacking alien species has a total of 10 units. They did not carry any weapons. They have already launched a tentative attack on Hekwan, but they were forced back by the large naval guns on the fortress. And they don't seem to have technology. In this battle, they invested 3 people in the first fortress, 2 people in the third fortress, 2 people in the fifth fortress, and 3 people in the seventh fortress. Rengar said in a deep voice. When he said this number, his tall figure couldn't help trembling slightly. I don't know if it was surprise or out of anger. Chris heard Rengar's back. His face darkened. There are 100,000 people. And without the use of technology, the 7th fort was the first to capture their figures, and 30,000 people gathered outside the 7th fort, which can also explain why Shalaifi's bandits were wiped out in such a short time. It's combining all the information obtained now, Chris murmured. Shalaifi's gang of robbers was full of gangs, and there were only a few hundred of them. It is reasonable to be killed by tens of thousands of people. As for the physical body breaking the armor, it should be a rumor, and the physical body should also be a technology similar to armor. But there is one thing that bothers Chris: so many invaders have entered Kaza. How it is hidden. My lord, it's not 100,000 people. It's 10 people. Commander Rengal, you should know what kind of punishment you will suffer if you make such a joke in the intelligence about the war. Chris said to Rengal. The tone was already extremely impolite. After all, there is no room for carelessness in this kind of matter. 10 people, attacking the Shaka peace circle. Today is not April Fool's Day. Chapter 12. Rengar seemed to have expected this reaction from Chris. So he skillfully manipulated the brain in front of him. In the video transmitted by Rengal, Saiyan can be clearly captured. They have no scales. The body has weird proportions, and it doesn't even have a huge tail to balance the body. But they moved quickly, like wild beasts of prey, and the tongues of flame sprayed from the fortress were narrowly dodged every time. They climbed up the 30-meter-high fortress wall through cooperation. On the ramparts, he started a merciless slaughter against the lizard man with a rifle. A seemingly ordinary punch or kick can explode with terrifying combat power. When the armored lizard men appeared, they would roar, and their bodies would begin to mutate horribly. In the horrified eyes of all the lizard men, detonate the armor and soldiers together. In the billowing smoke, their commander's eyes were blood red, and he aimed the muzzle of the large naval gun at the peace circle. Then a blinding light hit. The screen went black. It should be a large naval gun that destroyed the entire city wall, together with the soldiers on it. The video equipment was also destroyed at the same time. Really, there are only 10 people. Chris' face was ugly. After all, from this video, it can be roughly expected that other fortresses are in similar situations. 10 people attack the Zaka peace circle, which has countless technologies and has a population of more than 300,000. Tell it, no one will believe it. But this thing happened, and they are in this war at an absolute disadvantage, because what Rengar said just now is forced to retreat. There were no casualties on the other side. It can't be blamed that his soldiers are not brave enough. They are all brave and fearless, and the commander is desperate. Too arrogant. These damn intruders must know how powerful our peace circle is. 10 people attack the peaceful circle. Isn't this blatant contempt? How many mechas are there in the peace circle? Chris asked Rengal. Hearing his lord's inquiry, Rengar quickly reacted. We stopped producing the 5th generation machine 9 years ago, but there are still 3,400 units left, and 5,000 units for the 6th, 7th, and 8th generation machines. As for the technological crystallization of the peace circle, there are only 1,000 units for the 9th generation machine. The 9th generation mecha is the technological crystallization of the previous 8th generation mecha, and its comprehensive strength is close to 600 points. Except for the 109th generation machines reserved in Karlster, all the rest support the 4 fortresses. We must block them. It will not take long for the magic suit to be successfully developed. It will definitely be able to deal with these alien creatures with one blow, kill. Chris said in a low voice. There are 9 rings in the peace circle. The closer to the center, the safer. Most of the people living in the first ring are the upper class in the peace circle. But as long as you enter the peace circle, you will enter the heaven on Kazastar, because there will be no battles, and there are fixed distribution points in each street. And there are no fees. Fantasy paradise. This is what the outsider calls the inside. But at the moment, here is suffering from the baptism of war. Looking from a distance, in the wide peace circle, several vague figures rushed towards the peace circle. Thousands of soldiers charged towards the figures with various firearms in their hands. The vague figure didn't have any weapons in his hands. But those lizard soldiers with guns were no match at all. Saiyan is subordinate, just like a beast rushing into a flock of sheep, ignoring the bullets like a storm, and rushing forward crazily. With the Saiyan of Magnum capsules, logistics can be completely ignored. So their terrifying fighting power was displayed to the fullest. They were not afraid of death, and the small fort that blocked them was smashed with a punch, and the barrel flew dozens of meters away, falling on the ammunition, causing a violent explosion. Amosi stands on a high mountain outside the circle of peace. Looking at the scene in front of him, his expression was calm. He sent out all the war slaves. At least until now, everything is still planned. He raised his head and muttered, then his tone sank. The first team, report the current situation. Report to my lord. We have captured the fifth ring, but encountered fierce resistance, but at most 3 hours, we will be able to enter the fourth ring. The subordinate tone of the answer was calm. A proud voice came from the Amosi headset. They are still resisting because they don't know what opponent they are facing. Because it is impossible for those artillery to hit them. As for those light weapons, they can be ignored directly. It's too slow. I'll give you 2 more hours at most, and after 2 hours, I'll see you appear outside the 3 rings. Amosi didn't have a hint of joy because of the subordinate words. For their Saiyan, efficient plunder can make them grow faster. A weak Saiyan doesn't deserve to survive in the universe at all. All for the creation of our gods. In Amosi's view, Zhang Hao, who created them, is a concept with the gods. Hearing Amosi's words, the subordinate put away the arrogance on his face. Looking at the lizard man rushing in front of him, his eyes gradually turned fierce. Far away, the sound of artillery fire became more intensive. Because Amosi used all channels, all the subordinates heard his words, so they stopped hiding their strength. Roar, roar. All slaves use great ape. It turned out that those soldiers who could resist a little bit suddenly began to die out quickly. Visible to the naked eye, the walls of the peace circle were destroyed by the fort. Some subordinated to the great ape directly grabbed the fixed turret and threw it at the city wall as a grenade. As the explosion sounded, the slaves poured into the high wall. In the distance, Rengar stood up and looked at those huge gaps. A trace of fear flashed in his erect pupils. But it was quickly hidden by him. If he wavered too, it would be a fatal blow to the soldiers' morale. And he didn't despair. How long does the mecha need to be ready? He roared angrily at the commander behind him. If it is not ready again, everyone will be executed. General Ren, except for the 9th generation machines, all are in place. There are still 300 9th generation machines, because even if the Lord grants the highest authority, it still needs multiple verifications to deploy the 9th generation machines from the first ring. Hearing the commander's words, Rengar's complexion improved a lot. After a while, Amosi on the high mountain opened his eyes suddenly, and the corner of his mouth split into an arc. The raid has begun. Chapter 13. With the arrival of a large number of armors, the battle on the fourth ring was miraculously stabilized. Even when the last 300 9th generation machines were launched, they've been able to hold off Saiyan's quick rush. After all, Saiyan has been going on for a long time since its attack. As long as it is a creature, its energy is not unlimited. But at this moment, an 11th person appeared on the battlefield. He descended on the battlefield like a comet. The 9th generation machine, the highest technological crystallization in the peace circle, is like a piece of grass in the hands of a man. Those soldiers with guns were as weak as ants in front of him. Amosi stood outside the fourth ring, although it was a little worse than expected. But, enough. With one punch, the 9-meter-high 9th generation machine in front of him exploded, and then slowly fell to the ground. In the firelight, all the lizard men looked at the figure that looked like a demon god. Saiyan, who was still a little tired just now, saw Amosi's arrival, and his eyes suddenly filled with enthusiasm. No one knows better than them how powerful the man in front of them is. Then all the subordinates started their second talents one after another. War Zeal, 100x 10x 3. 3,000 points. Looking at the towering city wall in front of him, Amosi leaned forward, like a cheetah ready to go. Soi Zhao hit the wall of the fourth ring like a shell. There was a violent explosion. Boom. There was a huge gap in the battle line that had just stabilized just now. How is this possible? Rengar watched this scene, and suddenly got up from his seat with a look of disbelief. After fighting for so long, he has been able to see that these alien creatures are not very powerful when they are in normal size, but their strength can be horribly improved after mutation. Under normal circumstances, this man exploded the city wall of the fourth ring with one punch. Even the 9th generation machine they had placed high hopes on was destroyed like a toy in front of men. It feels like demolition. Everything in front of you can't stop the man's punch. Following loud noises, the man has already rushed into the first ring. Carl Stur. In the Lord's mansion, Chris looked like Amosi, the demon god. In the video from the scene, Gigi saw his indifferent pupils. He probably knew about Amosi's plan. Damn it, how could it be possible for you to succeed? As he spoke, he yelled at the attendants who were already frightened and his legs were weak. Send all the 9 generations out, delay, as long as you delay, you will definitely win. Quote. Hearing what Chris said, the attendant was refreshed and thought of the magic outfit that was about to be successfully developed. Amosi stood on Karlster's city wall, looking at the densely packed mechs in front of him, with a cold expression on his face. But from his eyes, he could see his disdain for these mechs. In the face of absolute strength, quantities are meaningless at all. Amosi sank, revealing a hideous grin. Massacre, begin. Chris looked at the berserk figure, his face pale. Too frightening. Those so-called armor, fortifications, even laser cannons, large naval guns, and electromagnetic guns, all exploded like fireworks before his eyes. No lizard soldier, or fortification, could block his punch. Looking at the scene in front of him, Chris felt a deep sense of powerlessness. My lord, the magic outfit has entered the final debugging stage. It only takes 5 minutes at most, and after 5 minutes, the magic outfit will be fully charged and put on the battlefield. With the voice of surprise from the attendant, genius appeared again in Chris's eyes. Scary magic costume. He must be able to kill the man in front of him who looks like a demon god. Amosi looked at only a dozen mechas left with a sneer on his face. It's over. Just when he was about to deal with all the mechs in front of him in one go, a chill came over him suddenly. A blue light beam shot towards him at an incredible speed. Fortunately, he responded in advance. But the mecha in front of him didn't have such good luck, like ice and snow melted by the sun. Disappeared in an instant. The huge light beam is like a bridge connecting heaven and earth, majestic. As the light beam disappeared, a hideous figure slowly appeared from the end of the light beam. It is more than 10 meters tall, twice as tall as the latest 9th generation mecha. It is covered with blue lines, giving people a mysterious and powerful feeling. Magic outfit. A brand new mecha uses a completely different energy conversion method, so the traditional energy cannon has reached an extremely terrifying level after being amplified. Lizardmeisters refer to this technique as great power, and rely on just high energy conversion rate. Terrible power can be obtained, and the speed is more than 5 times that of the 9th generation machine. Terrifying attack power and extremely strong mobility make Mojwang the king of long-distance combat. Amosi looked at the exquisite magic costume in front of him. Brow slightly wrinkled, realized that the mechs in front of him were completely different from those just now. 3,000. The fighting power shown in the eyes made Amosi's face change slightly. At the same time, Zhang Hao, who had been observing the war situation, had a look of surprise on his face. 3,000 combat power. This strangely shaped mech definitely reached the level of a second-level civilization. Although there was a little accident when they first landed on Kaza, fortunately, the 3 subordinates quickly resolved the trouble. It did not affect the course of the war. From the start of the attack, to the present raid on Karl Sturt. All went well, and even though he wasn't leading the fight, Amosi was able to get to Karl Sturt with a crushing stance. Just when Zhang Hao thought he was going to win this battle, there was a variable. The combat power of 3,000 points has surpassed the current normal Amosi. After all, under normal conditions, Amosi only has 2,000 combat power points, so he is no match for the mecha in front of him at all. But Amosi are super warriors in Saiyan civilization. Rely on the powerful blood talent, ability to use war fervor and great ape to boost strength. It can even transform into a Super 1 form when necessary, and its combat power reaches the normal X50. So even if the mecha in front of me has reached the second level of civilization, in front of Amosi, it is still not enough to see. While Zhang Hao was thinking, Amosi also realized that the mecha in front of him was not something he could defeat normally. So subconsciously looked up at the sky, the moon in the sky at this moment, like a disc. Today is exactly the day of the full moon of Zaka. My god's first battle will definitely be won with a crushing attitude. Feeling the blue's light shining on his body, Amosi bent slightly. Then he rushed towards the magic outfit in front of him suddenly. The huge light beam hit again, and all objects along the way were instantly gasified. Just after the magic-clothed lizard man thought he had suppressed this terrifying man, it saw an indifferent pupil. Great ape. Increase combat power by x10. 2000 x10. 20,000. Amosi jumped up, leapt into the air, and slammed his fist down in his gigantic form. Boom. There was a loud noise. All the glass in a radius of 20 kilometers from Karlster was shattered by the sound waves. And directly below Amosi, a cloud of smoke tens of meters high was set off. Chris looked at the transmitted picture, and his joyful expression froze immediately. How could it be? The magical costume they had placed high hopes on was smashed into the ground with one punch. After a while, the dust cleared. The exposed ground is covered with spider webs of cracks. And the center is the gorgeous magic costume. At this moment, the energy lines of the magic costume have all been exposed, and when they come out, bursts of sparks burst out. As for the lizardmen soldiers inside, those who have already died cannot die again. With just one punch, the magic suit warrior was instantly killed. Chris could no longer keep calm at this moment, and slumped on the ground. At the same time, Zaka Star started a region-wide broadcast. On March 16, Karlster was attacked and defeated in Zaka Star Lord Domain. Declare unconditional surrender. The planet has fallen. Chapter 14. The huge light beam hit again, and all objects along the way were instantly gasified. Just after the magic-clothed lizard man thought he had suppressed this terrifying man, it saw an indifferent pupil. Great ape. Increase combat power by x10. 2000 x10. 20,000. Amosi jumped up, leapt into the air, and slammed his fist down in his gigantic form. Boom. There was a loud noise. All the glass in a radius of 20 kilometers from Karlster was shattered by the sound waves. And directly below Amosi, a cloud of smoke tens of meters high was set off. Chris looked at the transmitted picture, and his joyful expression froze immediately. How come? The magical costume they had placed high hopes on was smashed into the ground with one punch. After a while, the dust cleared. The exposed ground is covered with spider webs of cracks. And the center is the gorgeous magic costume. At this moment, the energy lines of the magic costume have all been exposed, and bursts of sparks burst out. As for the lizardmen soldiers inside, those who have already died cannot die again. With just one punch, the magic suit warrior was instantly killed. Chris could no longer keep calm at this moment, and slumped on the ground. At the same time, Zaka Star started a region-wide broadcast. On March 16, Karlster was attacked and defeated in Zaka Star Lord Domain. Declare unconditional surrender. The planet has fallen. Karlster, Lord's house. This used to be the place that all Zaka people yearned for, but it is now a mess. The ornate furniture was crumbled to pieces, and the bodies of servants lay scattered on the ground. The only one alive is Chris. My lord, you must not let these intruders go. A soldier with a gun stood in front of the door and said, looking at Chris who was sitting slumped inside. Amosi turned his head, didn't even bother to take a look at his face, and looked at the sky through the huge floor-to-ceiling windows. The task entrusted by the gods was finally completed. Chris looked at the soldier in front of him and shook his head. Put down your weapons, we have already been defeated. Amosi nodded when he heard what Chris said. Without looking back, he said, it's over, we have taken down this planet, and told the natives of the planet, don't resist, our goal is the energy crystal. What about your battleships? If you don't have battleships, how many energy crystals can you get? Chris has now accepted the fact of defeat, so he couldn't help but express the doubts in his heart. Because apart from a few small aircraft, Zaka Star did not capture the figure of a large ship. There are no large spaceships. There are so many energy crystals, let them carry them one by one. Enough to last them a lifetime. Hearing what Chris said, Amosi ignored it. You just need to mine the energy crystals and then concentrate them, we naturally have a way. Own all-purpose capsules. It is equivalent to a mobile giant warehouse. Other civilizations may need ships and other means of transportation, but for Saiyan civilization, unnecessary. Listening to their doubts, Amosi didn't bother to explain. Because the technology of Zaka Star is highly developed, the efficiency of energy crystal mining is extremely high. Soon after, most of the energy crystals on the incoming planet were collected. Looking at the mountain of energy crystals, Chris couldn't help feeling a pain in his flesh. This is the foundation of their Zaka Star development. Just when he was wondering how Amosi and others transported so many energy crystals away, he saw a scene that stunned him. In his sight, the alien in front of him opened a box and took away thousands of energy crystals with something like a pill. Not only these, but also some other sources of energy. As for technology, even magic outfits, the Saiyan civilization can't be seen at all, because they are taking a completely different route, and all their strength comes from themselves. They don't need this kind of external technology. So in the horrified eyes of all the lizardmen, the energy crystals piled up like a mountain were collected into the universal capsule by 10 war slaves. Seeing the scene in front of him, Chris could not help but howl. This is the real robber. After all, the current Shaka planet has been squeezed out, and all available resources have been swept away. Under the illumination of the full moon of Zaka, Amosi and his team took out the aircraft from the universal capsule. He left this planet in style. It's all settled. Zhang Hao looked at Amosi, who had returned, with a look of joy on his face. This time Star Wars not only obtained resources for the development of Saiyan civilization, but more importantly, the strength of Amosi and others has been improved in a small range. After all, Saiyan civilization, the best way to improve your strength is to become stronger through non-stop fighting. As for the episodes that appear in it, Zhang Hao was still a little surprised. After all, there is advanced technology that only appears on second-level planets such as magic equipment. And even without magic clothes, other technologies on this planet are already highly developed. No wonder the previous intruders have failed, and even this time it's a bit tricky to solve it by ourselves. Zhang Hao secretly thought in his heart. If it weren't for the fact that Zaka was a full moon, he wouldn't have been able to resolve the battle so neatly. Unless Amosi is transformed into a Super One form. Just at this time, Amosi et al. Have all returned Vegeta. So Zhang Hao informed the Awakened Association that he had conquered the planet. Because there are many kinds of technology on this planet, if you don't need it, you can sell it. At the same time, there are lizardmen on it, which is also a resource. The Awakened Association is extremely efficient. In less than half an hour, everything was counted. Zhang Hao looked at the extra 300,000 star coins in Kali and showed a satisfied smile. Then began the final finishing touches. Also the biggest purpose of this trip. Annexation of planets. Under the idea of Zhang Hao, Zaka Star began to be slowly annexed by Vegeta, and the last 2 planets completed the fusion. Vegeta, which was only 52 kilometers away, also grew to 106 kilometers. The completion of the last project. Zhang Hao returned to the shuttle and sent out the confirmation order. The tail of the spaceship ejected a blue tail flame and began to return. Chapter 15. Zhongbei Awakened Association, Lobby. As Zhang Hao walked out of the aisle, passers-by cast their eyes on him one after another. Because Zhang Hao sent an application to the Awakening Association to sell the resources on planet Zaka, the news that he successfully conquered planet Zaka has been sent back. Although Zaka is a first-class planet, but the resources above are extremely rich, so many people are paying attention to this planet, but its highly developed technology makes these people flinch. Someone actually managed to conquer the planet Zaka. It's outrageous. Yes, although planet Zaka is a first-class planet, the technology on it has been highly developed, and ordinary people are no opponents at all. The one who can pass the trial of Star Zaka this time should also be a genius awakener from a certain school. It is said that the person who conquered Star Zaka was still wearing a school uniform. School uniform, isn't that just an awakened planet? How could you start Star Wars and win in the end? Some people heard the news and began to search for information about Zhang Hao. The final result is, it turned out to be like this. Hey, it's a pity. Even if it is very strong now, it won't be long before it will be surpassed by other civilizations. Hey, at most, we can only plunder such a low-level planet, and there will be no great achievements. Zhang Hao came to the hall and listened to the discussions in his ears. His face remained unchanged. After all, he was used to listening to it when he was in school. Didn't care too much. It was the salesman at the beginning. Seeing Zhang Hao successfully conquering Kazakhstan, he was full of surprise. Because it is shown from the recovered technology that there is a technology of planet Zaka. It has reached the level of a second-level planet. So even if Zhang Hao is as rumored, he achieved the purpose of forcibly increasing his strength by overdrawing the life force of the planet. It is also impossible to conquer Zaka. Therefore, there must be other secrets hidden in him. What is it? The salesman looked at Zhang Hao who was leaving, and muttered to himself. Zhang Hao returned home. Start counting the harvest at the first time. Closing his eyes, his consciousness sank into his own planet. Open black lens bracket planet name, Vegeta close black lens bracket. Planet diameter, 107 kilometers. Number of species, 11. World origin, 156. Open black lens bracket current civilization, Saiyan civilization close black lens bracket. Development route, war evolution. Technology tree. Universal capsule growth at level 3 can be carried to battleship at level 7. Battle unit. Amosi, Saiyan, grade, silver. Derivative. War dependent, Saiyan, grade, brass. Seeing the extra 80 points of original power, Zhang Hao was overjoyed. After all, the use of original power is extremely wide. At the same time, a larger planet also allows him to create more technological products. Although this time the harvest is huge. However, Zhang Hao still found a shortcoming in his civilization. If he does not pay attention to it, he may suffer a big loss in the next battle. Saiyan's fighting power is unquestionable. But at present, there is a fatal flaw. There is no means of remote attack. This time I was able to crush all the way, because Zaka was at the full moon, so I was able to rely on Great Ape to make up for it. If there is technology that can kill Saiyan remotely, or other means of attack, then there is a possibility of failure, and even a retrogression of civilization. So Zhang Hao pondered for a long time, and decided not to create a new Saiyan, but to enhance the strength of Amosi. At least be able to awaken the means of long-range attack. When thinking of long-range attacks, one cannot do without extraordinary energy. So Amosi must have Qi. And the problem that Amosi Great Ape is affected by the moon must be solved. Think here. Zhang Hao already had a rough idea in his mind. If Qi can be born, then in the future battles, even in the face of powerful civilizations such as cultivating immortals and magic, Zhang Hao will not be afraid at all. With a thought in his mind, the original power began to drain in a terrifying way. After a while, Zhang Hao clicked on the specific data of Amosi. Open black lens bracket name, Amosi close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket race, Saiyan close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket current status, normal close black lens bracket. Grade, gold growable. Growth method, fighting. Talent, war passion, Great Ape, transformation. Extraordinary energy type, Qi biological energy, can be improved according to the strength of the host, and the combat power will increase. Abilities, Ki blast, Qigong bomb, spirit bomb, artificial moon. Spirit bomb. Saiyan gathers the Qi energy in his body on the palm of his hand to form a huge blue-white energy ball, and finally emits it through the palm of his hand. Note, the longer the condensation time, the stronger the power and the more Qi consumed. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket artificial moon. An advanced fighter in Saiyan, who can combine his own energy with the outside world to create the bruise light needed by Great Ape. Close black lens bracket. After seeing all the data, 3 words appeared in Zhang Hao's mind. It worked. Although Saiyan can grow through practicing Qi, Zhang Hao, as the creator, is not sure whether he can successfully transform into Qi. After all, here in Zhang Hao's previous life, I have 2 completely different universes. But it turned out that he succeeded. And with the improvement of Amosi's strength, the strength of the remaining 10 Saiyans has also increased to the brass 9 Dan. It is only 1 step away from the silver level. To make up for Saiyan's lack of long-range attack methods, Zhang Hao set about improving his technology. That's why he wanted to plunder the energy crystal. Want to develop technology. There must be enough energy. The first is to expand the area of the fort and add long-range artillery to prevent the base from being attacked when Saiyan goes out to raid. And then there is gravity chamber. In order for Saiyan to win in future battles, they must be honed continuously. Because of defeat means death. Although now Vegeta already has 10 times the gravity. But this is not enough. With Zhang Hao's thoughts arise. The topography of planet Vegeta began to change drastically, canyons were filled and mountains began to collapse. The original fortress with a diameter of 10 kilometers was expanded to 15 kilometers. After doing this, Zhang Hao consumed all the original power he had just obtained, as well as the school's rewards. But Zhang Hao didn't care, because he was already attracted by the data of the planet in front of him. Open black lens bracket planet name, Vegeta close black lens bracket. Planet level, 1. Number of species, 11. World origin, O2. Open black lens bracket current civilization, Saiyan civilization close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket development route, plunder and conquer close black lens bracket. Technology tree. Universal capsule, 3 levels can grow, to level 7 can carry battleships, combat power detector can digitize target combat power. Addition of non-combat department, gravity room, battle unit, Amosi, Saiyan, grade, gold. Derivative, war subordination, Saiyan, grade, brass in a critical state. Gravity room, Saiyan's exercise facility, the gravity is adjustable, range, 10 times to 100 times. Close black lens bracket, a loot. This has more than doubled the overall strength of Saiyan civilization. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.